Bruce, you've kind of talked about, and rather flippantly sometimes, but about the fact that this team almost has to be perfect to achieve a win like you had at LSU. So with that in mind, how do you kind of keep getting better knowing that you're trying to achieve that perfection?
Well, you just you sort of just, again, take it possession by possession. I think that at the start of the second half we did not have energy. That's something you can control. It's happened a time or two before. Heavy minutes are a factor, but not an excuse. And so there's some things that we could correct there. There's a lot of defensive positioning and places that you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, and if you're not there, we're gonna not be able to defend. You give up 80-some points to Ole Miss, you're not going to win, and we're not going to win. And I thought there were a lot of things that we could have done as a team defensively to be able to guard them better, And again, when you don't, you're not going to win. So, offensively, we played better. We shot it really well. They had given up 62 points, I think, in their last 4 or 5 games, and then we scored it well enough to to be able to win the game. So that would be one thing. The second thing would then be, can we get more contribution from some other guys? Can KC give us more? Can TJ Lang give us more? Could Jordan in that particular game give us more? He was terrific against LSU, but then he played limited minutes because of foul trouble. So yeah, there's a fine line in there. We don't have to be perfect to win, but we don't have as large a margin for error. And I think the thing that our fans are seeing in Mississippi State or Texas A&M or Ole Miss, and they'll see against Arkansas, is you see waves of players coming off the bench, just waves. And that's what it takes. You have to have that kind of depth. I mean, you guys understand that in football. You guys understand that more than anybody in football. And you understand that just when it comes to a defensive line, let alone a team, what kind of depth you have to have in the defensive line to be able to play in the SEC.
Bruce, how much the schedule is different than it's ever been, the SEC schedule, I guess because of the SEC network. You end up with you play on Thursday, the other team played on Tuesday, and you got to play on Saturday, and then you play on Saturday, and you play on Tuesday.
Right.
How much of, especially for a team with limited depth, how much of an issue has that been?
Yeah, I just suppose it all evens out. It just has to all even out at the end. If we're constantly in Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday situations, and we're constantly being a team playing on short rest, then that'd be one thing. But I do think it kind of evens itself out. And at this time of the year, the guys are in good shape, and so it's our job in between these games to get them the proper rest, and even the proper stretching and the proper weight training in between these games. It makes it hard on a team mentally when we used to have more of a, whether it was a Wednesday, Saturday, or Wednesday, Saturday. Was that sort of a typical SEC?
That was what it was.
Okay, that's what it was. It made Sunday being a really obvious day off, and now because the schedule is what it is, where you're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, it just seems like there's just not a lot of rest in between. But it evens out, and will it affect us in the second half against Arkansas? Did it affect us in the second half against Ole Miss? Yeah, but it's not an excuse. I mean, it just sort of evens itself out. It just does.
You've seen some big guys already. Just talk about Portis, what he brings to the table that's different.
He leads the league in so many categories, scoring and field goal percentage, and he's one of the better offensive rebounders, and he's leader in block shots, and at least the top 3 or 4. So stat-wise and whatever, he's probably the best center in the league as far as his numbers are concerned. There's so many good ones. So it'll be a great matchup for Simeon and for him to have to guard him, for him to try to score on him, and for them to both have to keep each other off the board. So it's a great matchup. And again, I think the thing with Sim is, you know, whether he's got Saiz and then the next big guy and then the next big guy, and you know, and then against Arkansas it'll be the same thing. Well, he's having to play heavy minutes. And we're fortunate that he's staying out of foul trouble, because I think teams are going to continue to try to go after him in foul trouble, but he's been smart enough to be able to stay out of foul trouble. So yeah, Arkansas's they've got a full roster, and they got 3 or 4 guys that are on the bench that can play. They're the closest thing to Kentucky in our league as far as the depth and the quality of their roster.
Arkansas was typically a team of the line teams that score 70, 80 points in December and January. These last 3 games, they've held teams to 56 or under. What are they doing defensively that's really got them going a little bit, even on the road?
Yeah, the teams are averaging, they turn you over more than anybody else in the league. So they turn you over 16 plus times, which means that's 16 less possessions for you to take a ball chance to score. They still shoot it pretty quick. I mean, they lead the league in field goals attempted. They're going to get it down there, and they're going to beat you in transition and beat you early. And they play unselfishly. They do a really good job. And because they've got 5 guys out there that can score, they're not worried about, they want to get to Portis, and Qualls wants to make sure they get his touches, but it's an equal opportunity offense for them out there, which makes them, you know, really, really hard to guard. Turning you over, blocking, you know, and then I just think they're so long that, you know, it's hard to shoot over. Qualls will top cover KT. It'll be hard to get him looks. And we'll do what we can too. And he's got to work hard to get open. And so it'll be, you know, they're better defensively. They are.
This is you say it's the toughest matchup since when for you, or is there anything you can compare it to?
It's the toughest matchup since Ole Miss. You know, because they turn you over more than Ole Miss. They're different. You know, but they're comparable. You know, they're comparable. So no, and when I say that, you know, when I keep saying it's about the next one and the next one, you know what I mean? It really is. You know, it's about a particular. So when you leave LSU, you get to come home to Ole Miss, and you leave Ole Miss, you get to play Arkansas. You know, it's the toughest one since the last one.
Do you how crucial is like Taj in this game, as much as they like to press you and turn you over? And he's had, I guess, 1 turnover in the last 2 games. How crucial is that?
Our point guard play is going to be key. Absolutely. Taj, KC, Malcolm, you know, our ability to get into them and, you know, or get it in and then get it down is going to be absolutely crucial. And so, yeah, it's been good. You know, I was hard on myself for our attack against Ole Miss's 1-3-1, and it's the only way. It's the only way. As Alex said, what are you going to do? You know, the only thing you can do is be hard on yourself. Not so much hard on your team, but I've got to find a better way. I got to do something to help these guys more than I'm helping them. So I was hard on myself with our 1-3-1 attack, and yet, gosh, we got really good looks. We got really good looks, and 50% in the second half, and only turned it over 8 times, I think, against that. Had to call a couple timeouts, but so if we don't attack pressure properly and don't take care of the ball, it'll be that disaster we've been trying to avoid.
How hard is it? You've never really been through a season quite like this one, I don't think. And I know you say the same things, that you just look at the next one. And,
yes.
But when you're kind of sitting at home by yourself at night, how hard is it for you to deal with?
I can share it to you now, and I don't even have to worry about sitting at home thinking about it. I've never had a losing season, but I tell you what, I've had more difficult teams to coach in winning seasons than this team. I'm not having fun losing. I'm not going to have fun losing. But I can tell you that this is a good team, and it's been a good team to coach, and they still are. Now we've got to keep competing. We've got to keep accepting scouting reports and keep trying to find a way to be in games. And we got to keep doing something to deserve the support that we're receiving, because the support that we're receiving is way more than we deserve based on our outcomes, not based on our effort and everything. So given that, in coaching, as a coach and as a teacher, I've won more and had much more difficult times with my teams than I have here. I'm not worried about my record. I'm worried about Auburn's record, and I'm worried about, I'm just worried about trying to continue to get the most of them. Trying to get the most out of them. We, as I said, at one point during the season, early on the SEC, at one point, we won't be favored. We may not be favored for another game. Might not be.
Does this team have what it takes to really put on a run? You had it in non-conference but to really kind of extended run?
Does it have what it takes to have an extended run? With the exception of Kentucky, I've said that there's not a team on our schedule we can't beat. I don't know if we could beat Kentucky at Kentucky. I just don't know. I don't know. But with the exception of Kentucky, so can we? Yeah, we can. Some of our extended run was, we weren't playing the teams that we're playing right now. So my big thing is, and again, Philip asked the question, how disappointing was, to beat LSU that you don't get Ole Miss. I think in this league, because you get one, don't mean you're gonna get the next one. And it's about matchups, and it's about preparation, and it's about rest, and it's about foul trouble. It's about, we played pretty well against Ole Miss. Played a little better than I thought we played. We played pretty well, and we had Moody out of the game, and Moody was he was Player of the Week this week, and I'm not sure how many points did he have against us, Dan? 15. They scored how many?
86.
They scored 86. Can somebody do the math and tell me what 15 out of 86 is?
What, 71 difference?
Yeah, what percentage is 15 points out of 81
Not that
points?
Well, it's about,
17%. What percentage? Antoine Mason had a pretty good week this week. Had a great week this week. And I guarantee you the percentages of what he was able to score, and if you look at his points and his rebounds and his assists, and Ole Miss had a good week. They beat Texas A&M at home, which is an NCAA tournament team, and they beat a 3-6 Auburn team. We had the best win we've had since 1999 on the road in the SEC at LSU, and we played pretty close to Ole Miss. I thought Antoine Mason had a great week, so he's my Player of the Week. That doesn't get you anything.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bruce.